Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a Propagandacast Lehr with me, your host, Imperial Dane. Our topic of the day is the T34 76 once more, having received a series of overhauls here with the Elba Day update. Yay! And so, what does the Elba Day update do to it? Well, it does a series of things, including it actually hikes up the price by a bit. Not by a massive bit, but compared to before, it's now almost as expensive as a Panther 4. It is cheaper though. It is cheaper, but now not so much. And you might ask, well, what were the other changes? Well, essentially, he got more armor, he got more damage, it still has a high rate of fire, so it's not exactly bad in that department. And that, to a certain extent, is also RAM, rather now only disables either the engine or the main gun, so that's also a slight change there in that department. So, to a certain extent, I mean, the T34 rules largely apply, although, I mean, it's going to be a bit harder to build up the numbers, so to a certain extent, you still want it to be a numbers tank. But now it does have a few more advantages. Although note, the penetration is still low on the main gun, so you won't be taking on enemy armor head-on and win, basically. I mean, you're not going to face off against the Panther 4, for example, and win. You're probably not going to do much well against the Stug. I mean, running around in front of a Pack 40s won't do you much well unless you stay at range. We have a chance, for example, bouncing a few shots, and of course, now versus Stug or a Panther 4, you're more likely to bounce shots with your frontal armor, so it's not all bad. But again, you know, you have to be a bit more careful. On the other hand, if you flank them, flank the Panther 4, flank the Stug, flank the Pack, or whatever, you actually have a pretty good chance, because amongst other things, the T34 is still good against infantry. In fact, it is better against infantry than the Panther 4. So that is something still to keep in mind. Now, compared to before, it's also a lot more survivable, which means you're a lot more likely to get into the better veterancy bonuses, which results in higher rates of fire, amongst other things. Also higher maneuverability and other fun things, but really, again, the higher rate of fire really means higher lethality for your T34, which is actually what you really, really want. Because it means essentially that a Veteran 3 T34 will in essence be able to do more damage than the Veteran 3 Panther 4. Of course, the Panther 4 will be able to resist more damage, of course, head-on. It will probably win if you try to engage with your T34 Veteran 3, unless you're getting really lucky. So, of course, it's also something to keep in mind. But again, the T34 is now much more of a flanker. Still a bit of a numbers tank. I mean, essentially, considering how the Soviet taking system works, I mean, you still want to build up numbers of them, but you'll have less numbers than before, but still, it will be lethal. And of course, as infantry, it could really do some nasty damage, in particular also because, you know, its AoE also got improved. Of course, you still want to be careful about driving straight up to infantry. That could still result in a Panther foul, which of course will still leave your T34 floundering a bit, and rather negate one of its other great advantages, which is speed, which is still reasonably high. So again, that's nothing to ignore either. So overall, I mean, the new T34 has seen several improvements, of course, at a slightly higher cost. And of course, as for ramming, it's now something you don't just want to use willy-nilly. It's something more like, okay, I'm about to lose this T34, I might as well try if I can't get a bit more out of it and ram my opponent's tank and see if I get something out of it. Essentially, it's now like more like a last sacrifice for the motherland. And of course, no, I mean, against Pack 40s, you're still not going to have much luck. And essentially, you don't want to be driving straight at your enemy's positions with a T34 in most cases. That's just going to result in a lost T34. And of course, you also want to be careful about Panther Faust, as always. So, I mean, that is important to keep in mind with your T34. I mean, it's not more durable, it just has a high chance of striking off certain shots. And that's largely going to be things like Panther 4 and Stug fire. Pack 40s, well, for a larger chance, still have no larger issues with it. So again, that's very important to keep in mind. Otherwise, I mean, the Germans would really be buggered over if the Pack 40 could do nothing. So that is important when keeping in mind. But again, otherwise, you know, the veterancy bonuses, keeping your T34s alive now really gets you more than before. Since again, the high damage really just means veterancy just becomes that much more fun for you, not for the opponent, of course. So the other things again. So again, you know, don't ride head on to your opponent. Try to flank always. And of course, another thing, of course, to keep in mind with that, and of course, is that most, for example, German heavy armor, for example, is now weaker rear armor, which again really then further emphasizes the act of the T34 being a flanker. Something you quickly rush in using its higher speed to, for example, get behind a Tiger, a Panther, or something else, a Panther 4, and just shooting in there. Of course, I mean, considering how much bigger it is, you want to use more T34s, but for example now, say 2 to 3 T34s flanking a Tiger or a Panther, you're generally going to get well with it quite nicely if you know what you're doing. Again, you don't want to be driving straight up. You want, for example, to drive here on the side and then hit them from the rear, from the sides, get them there. I mean, the T34 flanking a Pack 40 can very quickly clear it out, actually. So, I mean, it's much more been emphasised in that role, but at the same time it's been more survivable, which really does mean a lot. Plus, of course, it does more damage now once it flanks as well, and properly. So, I mean, that's really now the emphasis of the T34. Flank, flank, flank. Shoot up infantry, but otherwise when it comes to armour, flank. Packs, flank. Assault guns, flank. Infantry, swish. That kind of thing. I mean, if you're hoping for a Panzer IV or a Panther with the T34-76, you're going to get very deeply disappointed. Do not expect it to operate like that. Again, expect it to flank and do well in that department. That is really where the T34-76 excels, flanking. And of course, again, you generally want more than one. One T34 is just going to be limited in most cases. Initially, of course, if your opponent doesn't have any armor, great. But otherwise, get more T34s. And again, generally you will be able to, because it is still the cheapest medium tank there is. Though not by much anymore, which of course is a bit interesting and certainly will be a bit of a challenge to sort of get the most out of. Then again, if you know what you're doing, you can get several out of them. And again, keep them alive, because again, the veterancy now is worth more than ever. And again, it's also going to be easier thanks to the heavier frontal armor, which again does give it more survivability versus Panzer IVs and Stooks versus Packs again. And I will repeat, don't drive straight at them. It will only end in tears for you and laughter and schnapps for the Germans. So, with this out, hopefully people will have a slightly better idea of the new and improved T34, how to use it, how to get the most out of it, how not to use it, i.e. straight up pack 40s, Panzer IVs or any kind of armour, because that's going to end in tears. So, this is Imperial Dane saying cheers and wishing you all a good day, and of course if you have any requests for topics you'd like a Propagandacast Lehr on them, write them in the comments and I'll have a look at it. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.